you have what it takes to ask something and just get yelled at for no reason? Paradox Pokemon are all either past or future versions of Pokemon that can already be found within Paldea. So maybe they were sent to the past or future through Time Machine and go, oh no, we're not starting this conversation again. There's a meta answer to this, which is that Game Freak is just so freaking... Of all the things they could be organized about, they're organized in using the same Pokemon. Like the games will have the regional variants and the originals. That's just how they do it. So Paradox Pokemon are kind of like a regional variant. That's really why it's there. But in the future, they can be like, oh, this is secretly the reason. I don't even think Game Freak knows what Paradox Pokemon are. I've realized this. They have a freaking idea. They have two ideas that they've put in the game. The real notion when they're developing the games was, bro, they're going to be from the past and future. Then they pulled their pants up. They changed it. Paradox Pokemon were not originally from different timelines. That's just the savior they put at the end because they don't want to think too deep about their series. I can empathize with it because by the time they're done developing Paldea, think what's on their plate. Gaia with island hopping and ZA, they're probably like, bro, do we have to hold so much value to these Paradox Pokemon? Why don't we just turn them into filler by saying they're from another timeline? Well, I take my freaking sympathy back because what's the difference? You think Pokemon's last and past Gen 10? Come back. Come back to this video. It's gonna be a couple years. I don't know if the world will be there, but Pokemon ain't gonna be there. Now the Paradox Machine can only bring back Pokemon that are genetically similar. So the theory mentioned here is that Pokemon of Paldea specifically were caught, sent through like Master Balls to the past or future, and then they freaking fished them back. Sure, I mean... It's probably better than what Game Freak came up with. Wait, otherwise, explain nuts and bolts existing on Sandy Shocks or the Pokeball pattern on Brute Bonnet. I have an answer for you. There is no answer. Game Freak will make up the answer as they go. I know people hate to hear that, like, who would win, Luffy or Krillin? It's whoever the writer decides. I'm not trying to be that guy, but in Pokemon's case, it literally is that. Okay, fine, freaking Krillin. There's no way. There's no way Luffy loses to Krillin, but Krillin is freaking stacked. Ask Ttar, do you think we'll ever get a region based on Toronto? Nah, fam. We got nothing going for us. By the time they do, we're already America. We have the region. New York is Univo. You freaking got our sister? That's pretty much us. They could have a Charizard variant with the flame on the tail in the shape of the Leafs logo. Bro. Poor guy. Ask Ttar, so not sure if you'll read this, but since Pokemon hype season is dead, do you think they should stop at Gen 10 and Legends ZA? No more main series games and focus on spin-offs. Nah, bro, what the frick? Okay, let's do some facts. Okay, so Super Mystery Dungeon. This is how Mystery Dungeon games sell, to use a pretty good spin-off. About 2 million if we're kind. Unless main series Pokemon games die off so much that they have to reinvent, the best way this could happen is not by abandoning the main series, but by seamlessly transitioning into something that is a lot like another spin-off. So for example, Legends EA, the whole area effect damage is a lot like Mystery Dungeon. In that way, they can transition, but they're not killing the freaking main series, bro. Or they pass it to another company and make their own games. Like that one farmer JRPG they had a while back. You talk about Little Town Hero. Game Freak's going where the money is. It is interesting to see, like what Tendu and the elephant and crap, that they desperately want to do something other than Pokemon, but they're always gonna come back home. I'm pretty sure Masuda been bored, that's why he left. He's like, I'm not even designing the games anymore, bro. Y'all ain't even listening, right? Oh, I haven't uploaded the series, but that's Masuda now. Now, when I say Pokemon is gonna stop after Gen 10, it's a half joke, but it's taken into account how ass gaming is slowly becoming, and world events like AI and everything maybe gonna be ending anyway. It'll be the year 2035 and you'll be like, oh shoot, remember Pokemon 7 years ago? I'm not wishing for it, obviously, and there does seem to be something companies are figuring out in terms of retargeting kids, like when they redesigned Donkey Kong and Diddy, which they look fricked, but from a kid's point of view, I can see why it's smart. So there's still some audience they're trying to get. Times change very drastically. Every like 5 years on YouTube is a whole different era. In a world like this, can you really see in 10 years those cool billboards in Japan and all, it still be Pokemon? And there still be Pokemon Smash, whatever. That's really what it was called, Pokemon Sunday, the new iteration. Can you really see it? You can, but you can also definitely see it not. I'll root for Pokemon, bro. I got a Pokemon channel. Ask Ttar, why is Darkrai genderless if Cresselia is female? I don't see the problem. Were you trying to set me up? Like if they're supposed to be two sides of the same coin. The coin can land differently nowadays. Okay, back then it does seem cool to imagine, at least in my head, that Cresselia is the more wiser older sister and Darkrai is like the troublemaker little brother. If only Pokemon could agree on something and stick to it. Like, remember in the movie how badass Darkrai was? They put that man in between Dialga and Palkia. Am I remembering the movie wrong? You made Darkrai cool like that. Pokemon has to realize the infinite power they have and they won't use. Ask Ttar. Okay, to answer your question, let's look at Darkrai's entries. It can lull people to sleep and make them dream. It is active during nights of the new moon. Oh my frick, my rant on how useless they use their game titles and themes, sun and moon. See, I don't know if y'all caught what I was saying, but like, how can they make two games off the sun, bro? The sunrise and the sunset. How about the new moon and the full moon? Think of that as the game titles. Pokemon New Moon and Full Moon with legendaries. People are stupid. They'll understand they're different games. They're not so stupid that they see moon in both. Pokemon picks these two giant counterpart titles trying to have some big impact. Like, holy frick, Sun and Moon, this is going to be a huge game. And speaking of Sun and Moon, bro, you already have Pokemon that are closely tied to them, not too much, with Ho-Oh and Lugia. There's so much you could have done. You thought of in 2025 to sequel those old games from Kalos, right? You could have done this back in Gen 7. If you're going to bring back Red for this 20th anniversary, imagine you went back and the two gens that started it freaking is redeveloping that. Pokemon Sun and Moon is about Ho-Oh and Lugia, which is what everyone thought. If you think Ho-Oh and Lugia won't sell on the covers as much, which I will agree with, make it a different Pokemon, and very quickly in the hype season, you learn that they're closely tied to Ho-Oh and Lugia. What better is your 20th anniversary than the games that actually Red and Blue popped up in again? Folklore has that on moonless nights, this Pokemon will make people see horrific nightmares. See, this is insane. You gave this to a mythical. This could be. You can split this one Darkrai concept into like 5 legendaries so easily. You could have a full moon. Forget Darkrai and Cresselia exist. By the way, they can still exist and then be the concepts of 2 games. Like freaking Celebi's a time traveler didn't stop Dialga from ever existing, right? Well, we can't do Pokemon. It's gonna have to be something else now. It can't be time and space. Deoxys is also from outer space, so yeah, time and space are covered. I could fart out Full Moon and New Moon. You just have a legendary Pokemon that's strongest in the Full Moon and another legendary Pokemon that's strongest at a Full Moon. And they freaking are fighting each other in this region and are worshipped. Maybe you got 2 different cults following them. You could have a third legendary that's more terrifying than them both in some way because it's the half moon, which means it's the best parts of both of them. And maybe along itself, it has 2 mini legendaries that are the Whining and Crescent inspired. I mean, the Whining and Waxing. I don't know my moons. I'm just telling you, with how little I know, I can freaking utilize the moon concept. Better than Pokemon Sun and Moon has nothing to do with them, bro. Platinum, to protect itself, it afflicts those around it with nightmares. And this is so unbelievable, bro. They could have had just like the electric terrain and drought abilities that Crown and Rhydon have. You could have introduced new like field effects exclusive to a legendary where when the full moon Pokemon is sent out, it naturally creates a full moon like weather effect, even if there's not a real full moon out. And the new moon Pokemon does this as well. And the third legendary, which we would meet in the DLC, I'm giving you infinite money, it would be able to do both. This has nothing to do with even nightmares and dreams. See, that's what really Cresselia and Darkrai are. But you put them on Full Moon Island, New Moon Island. If you really want to feel like I'm Game Freak and I planned everything, when you make these Full Moon, New Moon Pokemon, you write in the lore that maybe freaking thousands of years ago, when these legendaries were fighting, let's say it's the Gen 10 game, that a piece of them fell to the Sinnoh region. And that's what Cresselia and Darkrai are. New Moon and Full Moon Island. That's why they're both just chilling around there. When you awaken Cresselia, it's only running around within Sinnoh. It's not like it leaves, comes back only on Mondays or something. They're hanging out in Sinnoh. And Darkrai just picnicking all for existence. You can make anything sound planned. Darkrai has such an incredible design. Let me look at it. You could even expand this into what the Newmoon legendary is. Darkrai looked like a Newmoon, bro. If you just saw it in the sky, you wouldn't be able to. Cresselia, not so much. I'm telling you, bro, there's infinite ideas. I think Pokemon has to go out of their way to be this stupid. They have to, right? I'm freaking the old gen. Like, the new gen is freaking insane compared to me. I know y'all can do better. Maybe that's the problem with Game Freak. They're the grandpa gen above me. Heartglow Soul Silver. It chases people in Pokemon from its territory, causing them to experience deep nightmare slumbers. So cool. So if we base the Fullmoon and Newmoon legendaries off Darkrai and Cresselia saying they're the original ones, that these are just fragments of, you make it so maybe the Newmoon, you could have a lore where the reason there's moon phases people believe in this region is the Newmoon Pokemon takes more and more people under nightmares, and it gives it more power, causing the moon to lose itself and turn new. And meanwhile, the Fullmoon Pokemon is trying to save people, waken as many people up, and that's what causes the moon to go back full. And so people in the region, when they see the moon constantly going back and forth, this is what they believe. They're like, bro, they're still fighting. And you can make it literal. You can literally make this is what's happening. Why not? What are you gonna? It's the Pokemon world. Do whatever you want. Keep adding fantasies all over the place. Then build on it more and more. Maybe in this region, remember I said the Fullmoon and Newmoon fought and only one piece of each fell to Sinnoh? Maybe a couple pieces fell to this region. And there's like a legendary trio of Darkrai-like Pokemon. And a legendary trio of Cresselia-like Pokemon. Cresselia got to up its design a bit more. You could even have their names be Darkrai, but they're all like regional variants. They're different looking Darkrai's. Speaking of Game Freak trying to world build, make it seem like the same Pokemon exist around, that's world building for you right there. The Darkrai you found in the Sinnoh games, they belong to the Gen 10 region, whatever we're making up here. And I'm saying this in place of back in Sun and Moon. Imagine if they had this creativity, the exponential continuation from there. But you know what they focused on instead of all this? They used the impact of Sun and Moon and put all their resources into upping the 3D that was actually good. The X and Y 3D looks incredible. I've been playing X. It hits the sprite nerves. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's keep going. Wait a sec. To protect itself, it afflicts those around it with nightmares. However, it means no harm. I didn't even freaking realize that. How cool that Game Freak, that Darkrai does this on autopilot. All you have to, it's like a setup to explain what's really going on. Because Darkrai is just that freaking piece of it. It's just doing what it's programmed to do. The real legendary has a malicious intention with these nightmares and afflicting people. And how freaking cool. Like when you put this kind of passion in the game, it allows you to do stuff like in both of these games post-game is Lugia with the purpose. Not Lugia and Ho-Oh. Enough with the freaking interchangeable counterparts. Start to freaking focus on the Pokemon. Have Lugia in both games. And for some reason, in the post-game, right? And it's doing something in the region. And this is how you build what Lugia really is further and further. By not making it interchangeable as both Lugia and Ho-Oh, you can dive into Lugia as well as the legendary birds. You can explain maybe what they are. Okay, let me try to freaking make something up. So the climax of the game would be you seeing the clash between the Newmoon and Fullmoon, and you quell one of them and capture it. In the post game, the professor talks to you. He's like, bro, this is crazy. I know you're champion now. You saved the region. Something crazy is going on in the region. A freaking new island appeared with a bunch of storms. I heard of this island once in the Johto region many years ago. You go there, Whirl Islands. But it's not as boring this time. There's freaking kimono girls there. Maybe a returning character like freaking Blue, you know, or Ethan. Like, why can't characters freaking be real? And they're investigating what the frick the Whirl Islands is doing there. Maybe let's pretend Ethan is a real character. And he's like, I don't know what's going on, but the islands, it doesn't seem like they move just to the water currents. It seems like they were intentionally moved here. I think the legendary Pokemon Lugia, which I met a long time ago, is investigating this region for something. Like, frick. Or instead of Ethan, make it freaking Professor Elm. A redesigned Elm 20 years in the future. You go further and there's kimono girls there. They're telling you about the Johto region. This works in the same way as like Kitakami worked and Blueberry Academy worked. It kind of feels like Johto if you just make the music all Johto themed. If you put Kimono Girls there, Elm, you see? You could even have, bro, I'll get to it later. Pretty much you could have Lugia there investigating remnants of the clash. And you can see maybe lore that explains that Lugia is the head of the legendary birds. Maybe there's a nest on World Island with a flightless, normal type bird. That's the pre-evolution to the 3 birds. It's level 1 and you can get it. And then you can find out how to evolve it into Zapdos, Articuno, or Moltres. Imagine this is Gen 7, then look at what they do in Gen 8. They're developing the birds even more, right? Not by just cheaply making a regional variant with nothing else. I mean, I loved the 3 new birds and the 2 new Regis, but you know why they were there. They were literally just there as eye candy. There was no real story to them, though I super like. It's not even that hard to program, but I was gonna say I like that Zapdos is running around. Bro, you know how easy that is to program? And freaking Articuno's in the sky, oh, claps to freak. Imagine Elm seeing that flightless bird and being like, this is the first time I've seen this. Even Oak doesn't know about it. I can't wait to go home and show him, right? Like some freaking personality? The same Elm that looked up to Oak when Oak was in, remember Oak was there? Now you get to show the flip side. It's called character development. Maybe Lugia has some kind of special power, like a held item, and when you give it to Zapdos or Articuno or Moltres, it triggers a freaking form change or a mega evolution, something. This is Gen 7, right? This is right after the mega evolution gen. But you see what Game Freak, the path they went with instead, right? They went with the path that took less writing, less creativity that involved going back and has scrutiny because you can F stuff up with the lore. They decided, let's F all that hard work and just make another self-contained story. That's what Sun and Moon was. And then we'll add a new eye candy, Z moves. Let's see. Our Legends Arceus. On a moonless night, a strange incident occurred in which every one of the village's inhabitants suffered nightmares. The villagers attest that Darkrai appeared before them in these nightmares. Oh my gosh. You could make a nightmare world. And this like a nightmare world that belongs to both the Fullmoon and the Newmoon Legendary. It's not a nightmare world, it's a dream world. This is the distortion world that the climax happens in. So half the region is asleep and half the region, I'm not even gonna say the Fullmoon side is good. Maybe they're unnecessarily awake, like they can't go to sleep, which means both the legendaries are evil and using the people. Just because one can wake up the sleeping and the sleeping can make the awake fall asleep, don't make one side good or evil. So maybe you go in the climax into the dream world, depending on which version, it'll be the same place, but looking all purple and evil and called the Nightmare World in Pokemon Fullmoon, but called the Dream World in Pokemon Newmoon. And you just go on a cool trip, and since it's a dream world, you can go upside down, you can talk to someone and they freaking morph. You can fight Pokemon but be unable to catch them, so they could be all kinds of amalgams. Or just like in the Battle of Pike when you can see level 80 Milotics, they can do that because you're not allowed to catch them, right? You can make nightmare versions of Pokemon, right? Like, so maybe if you run into a Pidgeot, they give it spiked teeth and red eyes, and that's why you can't catch them, because they're just meant to be in this area. Dude, you could do so much, but what did they do? Pokemon Sun and Moon, nothing to do with anything. I don't know, bro. I don't want to yell at Game Freak so much, but I don't know, bro. I don't understand. The games would actually sell more if they did this. You think they have to keep it simple. That's how they maximize sales. Sucker, no. Say it with me now, sucker, no. Let's see if Game Freak and Pokemon survive past Gen 10, y'all. All right, I'll see. I'll take care.